Hey, welcome back, everyone. Before we get going, if you're a continued listener or a watcher, thank you. If this is your first time, welcome, and I hope you find the information beneficial and you keep coming back for more. Now, let's get on with the show. Do you ever wonder how some people can walk into a room and without saying a word, they just command respect? It's not just because of their title or their position. It's something else. Something harder to define, but instantly recognizable. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That sense of presence, the way people look to them in a moment of crisis, the way their voice cuts through the noise, the way decisions get made because they made them. And I'm also willing to bet that you don't realize that that's you. And it isn't simply the rank on your sleeve or the badge on your chest. It's about who you are and the ability to be in charge. But here's the challenge. When the titles don't come with automatic authority, or when you walk into a civilian world where no one knows your history, how do you establish yourself as a leader in a space that plays by different rules? So with that, let's get into round 61 of the tactical transition tips. This time the topic is command presence without the uniform. For the close range group, those of you looking at your transition right away or you're less than a year out, lead through actions, not authority. For the medium range group, those of you looking at your transition in 5 years or so, build a professional leadership brand. And for the long range group, those of you just starting your careers, you've got at least a decade before your transition, create a leadership development plan. Close range group, lead through actions, not authority. I don't have to say this. Change is coming. And one of the biggest shifts in your transition is how leadership works outside of this structured world that you're used to. As first responders and veterans, most people listened because what's on our uniform? Rank, seniority hash marks. Respect is built into our systems. But out in the civilian world, that's not how it works. No one is calling you sir or ma'am. No one's automatically assuming you're the one in charge. And for some, that can be a tough adjustment. So how do you establish yourself as a leader when no one knows your history? Simple. You lead through action, not authority. But before you step into your next career, define your mission and your vision. Ask yourself, what do I stand for? What do I want to accomplish? This isn't just about finding a job. It's about finding the right job, one that aligns with your values and long-term goals. Think about it. These careers gave us an end state. There was always a clear objective. You knew what success looked like. But if you go into your transition without defining a personal mission, you're just drifting. Employers can sense that, and people want to follow those who have direction. Start by writing your personal mission statement. What do you believe in? What kind of leader are you? And what kind of work matters to you? Reflect on your strengths and experiences and how those skills translate. Stay focused. A clear vision helps you make better decisions about job opportunities, the career paths you want to take, and who you network with. Many people in your position focus on just finding a job. And I get it. Money's a factor. You need that stability and responsibilities are important. But if you can, take a step back and think bigger. The difference between landing a job and landing the right job is in how well you define your mission. And when it comes to your mission, remember this, always be professional. One of the easiest ways to set yourself apart in the civilian world is simply by being consistently professional. You might take this for granted because in our careers, things like being on time, being prepared, and remaining calm under pressure, they were non-negotiables. But out in the civilian world, that's not always the norm. Think of it this way. In a competitive job market, the smallest things make a huge difference. Showing up on time, dressing appropriately, being prepared. Those aren't just basic habits. They're leadership signals that The people hiring you and who are going to be working with you will notice. So lead by example. Show up early. Whether it's an interview, a meeting, or your first day on the job, treat it like formation. Being on time is late. Being early is on time. Dress the part. Research what's appropriate in your new field. Is it business casual? Is it more formal? Figure it out and show up looking the part. Have a solutions-oriented mindset. Instead of dwelling on what you don't know, focus on what you can contribute. I'm sure you've all heard stories from former coworkers who talk about their frustrations with the civilian workplace. Maybe it feels like there's less discipline, there's less urgency, or people just aren't squared away. And maybe they're right. But here's the key for you. Instead of getting annoyed, use it as an opportunity. You don't have to fit in. You have to stand out. And here's another one that I'm sure you know. Credibility is built on follow-through. In our careers, accountability was ingrained in the system. There were standards, expectations, consequences. But in the civilian world, a lot of it is self-regulated. The people who take ownership of their work, who admit mistakes, meet deadlines, and follow through are the ones who can gain respect the fastest. Think about the leaders you worked with and respected. Chances are they were the ones who owned their decisions, but more important, admitted their mistakes. That principle doesn't change just because you're out of uniform. It actually becomes even more important. If you screw something up, don't make excuses. Acknowledge it, fix it, and move on. Follow through on your commitments. Whether it's meeting a deadline, completing new training, supporting a fellow coworker, be that person that people can count on. Also, ask for feedback, and when it's given, apply it. It shows that you're adaptable and willing to improve. One of the hardest adjustments you'll have to make is realizing that some people just don't hold themselves to the same standards. It can be frustrating when there aren't clear consequences for poor performance. But I'm willing to guess that you've probably experienced something similar in these careers. Because trust me, we're not exempt from this. But here's your advantage. Use your accountability as your competitive edge instead of expecting it from others. And let's be real. You've been in situations most civilians can't even imagine. You've handled crisis, pressure, high-stakes decisions. That's a massive competitive advantage in the civilian world. Yes, businesses face their own versions of crises, financial downturns, operational failures, conflicts, whatever it is. But the leaders who stay calm and clear-headed and strategic in tough moments are invaluable. So when you're in interviews, highlight the times when you handled high-pressure situations and delivered results. Here's something else. People leave these careers, but for whatever reason, they can't stop introducing themselves by their former rank. Don't be that person. Unless obviously somebody specifically asks you, what was your former rank? In the civilian world, your old rank doesn't mean much. Employers don't care about what your title was. They care about what you can do now. Civilian leadership is about results, not authority. If you can prove you bring value, whether it's problem solving, crisis management, operational efficiency, you'll gain influence. When you're in that hiring process, turn your experience into measurable outcomes. Tell them how you improved efficiency, how you trained your teams, how you solved problems, big or small. But on the other side, you better be able to have examples. You can't just say it. You got to be able to back it up. So when you're in that interview, instead of saying, I was a lieutenant, say, I led a team of 20, and we improved response times through strategic planning and by doing this and this and this. and have examples of it. The thing is, our biggest problem, we struggle with selling ourselves. We built our integrity on the success of the team, not on self-promotion. But this isn't bragging. It's showing your value. You're not just talking about yourself. You're explaining how you can help that potential employer succeed. And once you have that new job or that new career, when challenges come up, stay composed. Assess, prioritize, and execute, just like you've always done. Also, avoid being reactive. Even in frustrating moments, maintain your professionalism. And here's where the touchy-feely comes in. When you make that change, you cannot underestimate the importance of emotional intelligence. The civilian world is less rigid. People's skills matter as much as technical expertise. Balance resilience with approachability. You have to realize how you make people feel is very important. Your coworkers and subordinates will perform better if they feel like you understand them. So remember, your leadership was never about the uniform. It was about the actions you took, the trust you built, and the results you delivered. None of that disappears when you transition. If you focus on mission clarity, professionalism, accountability, the results, and your composure, you'll establish leadership presence anywhere you go, with or without a title. Sponsorship for this podcast comes from Brothers in Arms USA. They're a veteran-owned and operated clothing and accessories brand that's 100% American-made. Every piece tells a story of brotherhood, respect, discipline, and honor. Deeply inspired by those who serve, those who have served, and those who have paid the ultimate price for serving our great country. Whether you're an outdoor enthusiast, a proud patriot, or simply somebody who values high-quality American craftsmanship, they've got something for you. Go check out brothersinarms.com, spelled out fully, brothersandarms.com, and use the promo code TRANSITION20 to get 20% off your purchase. Medium Range Group. Build a personal leadership brand. Let's talk about something that's going to set you up for long-term success. Building your personal leadership brand. Now, I get it. You've still got some miles left on this set of tires. But start building a reputation today that speaks for itself, and position yourself as a leader before you ever step into civilian life. When your name comes up in a conversation, whether it's in your unit, your organization, or in the outside world, what's the first thing people say? You get things done. You're a mentor. You're the one to call on when there's a problem. Or is it, they're good? And we all know the bad use of, they're good, or the kiss of death. They're okay. They're just there. Start now, and don't just be there. You want to build a leadership presence that stands out. So when you step into the civilian world, doors are already open. One of the biggest shifts you can make right now is thinking beyond just your daily responsibilities. Ask yourself, what impact am I leaving behind? A well-developed leadership legacy reassures both your current organization and future employers that your influence extends beyond your personal presence. Civilian employers value leaders who don't just execute tasks, but develop people and improve systems. One of the fastest ways to strengthen your leadership brand is to actively mentor others. Civilian employers are going to recognize and respect leaders who build teams and develop talent. Being a mentor reinforces your leadership reputation, both inside and outside your organization. Future employers will see you as someone who builds teams, nurtures talent, and creates sustainable success, which is actually valuable both now and later. So start now. Identify people in your unit or your organization who could benefit from your mentorship. Take someone under your wing. You can do this through formal training. You could have one-on-one conversations, or it could just be kind of off the cuff, informal career advice. You have leadership knowledge and institutional knowledge. You have tactical and operational experience. Pass that down. Think about how you can leave your teams stronger than they are right now. Remember though, document your mentorship efforts. This is what proves your leadership impact when you start applying for civilian jobs. I understand that it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind and forget to think about your long-term influence on your organization. But here's the thing. Those who invest in others are the ones who transition the most successfully. And why, you ask? Because they enter the civilian world with a reputation for leadership and mentorship, which is exactly what employers want. Some of you might hesitate, though, and say, I can't mentor. I don't have time, or I don't have enough knowledge to guide someone. But here's the truth. Mentorship isn't just about them. It's about you. It sharpens your leadership skills, builds your legacy, and creates a lasting professional relationship that can benefit you long after your transition. Something else to remember. Your ability to stay composed in high-pressure situations and accomplish the mission is one of your biggest assets. But besides being a decisive leader, the civilian world demands emotional intelligence. Employers don't just want leaders who can make decisions. They want leaders who can navigate difficult situations, communicate effectively, and maintain strong relationships. So start doing that now. Practice informed and calm decision-making. When you're making decisions, don't just react. Take a step back. Analyze the options and respond with what is best for the organization or that person, not your ego. Also, if you're not already working on your emotional awareness, being right doesn't always mean being effective. Learn to read the room. Adjust your approach and bring people with you. It's easy for us to be interested in leaders from our communities. But what you need to start doing is learning about successful civilian leaders. Get your hands on anything you can read. Listen to podcasts. Learn how they handle conflict, stress, and decision-making. When you're doing all this, don't think that that's tomorrow knowledge, though. Incorporate what you learn into your leadership style today. There's something else you need to be aware of. Yes, the leadership experience we gain in our world, is valuable, but it's not enough. When we get out, we tend to default to that authoritative decision-making. And in mission-critical situations, yeah, that's sometimes needed. But carrying that authoritative style into the civilian world, especially considering that they probably aren't dealing with many, if any, situations that have life or death implications. By being authoritative, you come off as rigid or unapproachable. You need to blend decisiveness with emotional intelligence. And the key to that brings in a long-term leadership success. Civilian leadership is a different animal. The expectations are different. And the more you prepare for that shift now, the easier your transition will be. Employers also want leaders who evolve. They're not just looking for experience. They're looking for adaptability, communication skills, and business acumen. If you stay locked into what you know now, you risk being left behind. Take leadership courses that focus on business, communication, and employee development. You should already have mentors. Notice I said mentors plural. You need guidance from multiple sources. You should have mentors who are leaders. Many of us assume that our leadership experience alone will get us a civilian leadership position. It won't. Employers respect our service, but they need to see proof that you've adapted your leadership style for their world. You've got time right now. Use it wisely. A well-executed transition plan reduces uncertainty and last-minute stress. It also gives you more options. Develop a transition timeline, set achievement waypoints, and make it a priority to accomplish those goals you set. Your personal leadership brand isn't built overnight. It's crafted through mentorship, continuous development, and long-term planning. The work you do now determines how successful your transition is. The more you define your leadership identity, develop new skills, and build your reputation today, the easier it will be to step into the civilian world on your own terms. Your goal isn't just to transition. It's to step into your next role already positioned for success. Are you tired of coffee that spikes your energy, then crashes you? Trident Coffee is different. Their cold brew is infused with MCT oil, lion's mane, and reishi mushrooms, which gives you steady energy, sharp focus, and brain-boosting benefits, without the jitters, plus electrolytes to fuel your recovery. They roast their beans to be optimized for cold brew, which means all their coffees taste amazing, not bitter. Brewed hot, over ice, or in your smoothie, Trident Coffee works however you do. Get yours at tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your purchase. Long Range Group. Create a leadership development plan. Yes, just because transition isn't staring you in the face, don't push off preparing for it. It's kind of like training for a marathon. If you wait until a few months before a race day to start running, you're going to struggle. But if you start preparing years in advance, you're setting yourself up and you're learning to adapt so that when the race comes, your body easily performs. Your goal right now is to actively enhance your leadership presence today as a long-term preparation for your transition, so that when you do make your move, you're already positioned for influence and success. Approaching the rest of your career without direction is like a mission without a plan. If you don't know where you're going, you're just reacting instead of leading. Having a long-term vision keeps you focused and intentional about your leadership growth. Without it, years are going to slip by without any real progress. Also, though, when I'm talking about leadership, I don't necessarily mean that you should promote to a leadership position, though I do believe you should challenge yourself. However, inherent to our careers, leadership is part of the program, regardless of the rank, the insignia, or whatever you wear. So understand that when you step away from these careers, leadership positions are going to be a natural fit. As you continue through your career, you need to be looking out at the horizon. You should be asking yourself, where do I see myself in 10 years, 15, or 20 years? What kind of leader do I want to be? Think beyond just job titles. What impact do you want to have? But besides doing this today, you need to have this same self-evaluation annually. Ask yourself, how did you evolve from the previous year? And always keep amending your career and your transition goals. Many of us skip this step because we assume I'll figure it out later. We also put too much reliance on our career guiding us where we need to go. But without setting your own direction, valuable years can pass without truly beneficial growth. Create your structured plan to make this happen. Set quality long-term goals. Goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant, which will keep you on track and prevent complacency. Identify key leadership skills you need for success: public speaking, the strategy of business, conflict resolution. And when I say success, I mean success in your career now that's going to lead to greater success tomorrow. Break your goals into short, mid, and long-term waypoints. Constantly track your progress and adjust your goals or necessary skills as needed. Hopefully, as your career evolves, there will be even greater skills you'll need. They're just not on your radar at this level. For example, executive level leadership, leading other leaders, division or regional operations and budgets. Something that's very important is to not fall into the pitfalls of getting comfortable and assuming that the skills you have today will be enough. Leadership evolves. Staying stagnant now can lead to a rude awakening later. Another pitfall is thinking that transition is so far away that your career can develop its own cruise mode, where you don't plan for your contingencies or any unforeseen forks in the road. The reality is, life doesn't always follow a predictable script, and I hope your career goes better than you expect. But in these careers, injury is always a potential that's around every corner. Whether you like it or not, there's a good chance you'll face burnout. Things can change with your family. Or worse, you could make a poor decision. All these things can accelerate your transition timeline. Again, I hope your careers are stellar. But if you don't prepare for Mr. Murphy, you could find yourself starting from zero. Having a contingency plan ensures that if unexpected hiccups occur, you won't be scrambling. Instead, you'll have options already in place. The most significant contingency plan you can implement right now, though, get financially secure. Live within your means. Save as much as you can. Think about getting passive secondary income streams that are working for you. Another contingency plan is be thinking about what skills will serve you the best in the civilian world. If what you're doing now doesn't have civilian carryover, it doesn't mean you have to stop doing it. But think about what other aspects of your assignment will teach you civilian skills. Help with the team's budget and purchasing. Volunteer to handle scheduling. If your team provides any type of annual or quarterly report to the higher ups, volunteer to handle it, especially if it gives you the chance to speak publicly. Always be looking to identify alternative career paths. Learn the industries where your skills do translate, or learn how you can sell your skills but wrap it in a different title. You always want to have multiple fallback options. In line with planning for contingencies, adopt a growth mindset and embrace resilience. The best leaders, whether in our world or in the civilian world, never stop learning. Leadership is about you evolving, and the best way to stay ahead is to cultivate a growth mindset. Your ability to adapt, learn, and push through challenges will define how successful not only this career is, but how your post-service career as well. Understand also, you must actively seek out opportunities for personal growth. That means taking chances and putting yourself in situations where you're likely going to fail. But that's okay. Learn from setbacks now. Don't fight it. They're going to happen. But rather than being discouraged by them, use them to get better and move yourself forward. Stay curious. Read. Take all the classes that you can get put in. Constantly strive to expand your knowledge base. And always put yourself around high performers. The people you associate with will influence not only your mindset, but also your future success. The best transitions aren't reactive. They're intentional. Use this time to build your reputation, develop your skills, and establish yourself as a leader before you ever step into the civilian world, so that when that day comes and you step out of uniform, you aren't just searching for a new purpose, you're already living it. Veterans, first responders, and high performers, if you refuse to slow down, Human Performance TRT is built for you. Veteran-owned and operated, they understand what it means to push through. That's why they offer personalized hormone optimization, no locked-in contracts, and direct-to-door delivery. Visit hptrt.com today and use the promo code TDP for 30% off. because peak performance isn't optional, it's necessary. All right, let's bring it all together. Close range group. Lead through actions, not authority. As a civilian, leadership isn't granted by rank or title. It's earned. Show up, follow through, and let your actions do the talking. Medium range group. Build a personal leadership brand. Don't wait until transition is knocking at your door. Define who you are, what you stand for, and let your reputation open doors before you even step through them. Long range group. Create a leadership development plan. The best leaders don't just react, they prepare. Use this time wisely. Develop your skills, build your network, and set yourself up for success today and when your transition arrives. Thank you for listening to or watching the episode. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out, either on social media or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. All the links are in the show notes. Also, if you're not already, please follow the podcast on whatever platforms you get podcasts. You can also subscribe on YouTube. And if you would, please leave a rating. The more ratings get this podcast in front of more or recommended to more people. Another ask, please share the podcast with anyone you think could benefit from and enjoy it. Also, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. And remember, one day soon, whether it's next month, next year, or years down the road, you'll walk into a room where no one knows your history, no one sees the rank you once held, and no one is obligated to follow your lead. And that's when you realize the true power of command presence without the uniform.